Hello, everybody. The presentation that you are here to view today is called Ayuda, no entiendo, which translates into help, I don't understand. My name is Melissa Garcia. The topic that I will be covering is immigrant students in the classroom. I am coming to you from Ronald McNair Middle School, which is located in Atascosa, Texas, in the outskirts of San Antonio. A little background about myself. I have been in education for 5 years. As I was growing up and going through our school system, I myself was an English language learner. I am an Angelo State University graduate, and I currently am seeking a master's degree in professional school counseling. I would like to start off by thanking you for signing up for this session. Now, what can you hope to gain from our time here together? Here are a couple of our session objectives. Number 1, you will gain insight on how school systems in America unintentionally fail immigrant students. Number 2, you will gain information about the existing effects immigrant students and English language learners endure. Number 3, you will be able to recognize the need for reform to support the educational achievements of immigrant students. And lastly, number 4, we will be able to cover potential solutions to prevent a recurring cycle. What seems to be the problem, you may ask? Through my research, I have been able to pinpoint just a few of these problems. First off, immigrant students arrive here in our home country in search of a promising future. To their dismay, educators lack the necessary tools to support their achievements, as well as professional training in this particular area. Immigrant students will eventually succumb to isolation and become a target of unintentional bias and discrimination. This will ultimately lead to low academic performance, resulting in school dropout. As educators, we understand that when a child, any child, drops out, we have failed him or her. Moving forward, we will now cover some of the causes of this problem. Cause number 1, you can agree with me that there is an absence of appropriate resources available. Immigrant students will not succeed if a teacher does not have tangible resources to support their learning. Research indicates that assessment of immigrant children does not always lead to the gathering of useful information. Cause number 2, the lack of continuous professional development. I would like to take this time to emphasize the word continuous. Should professional development stop? No. Continuous means we are always learning because things are always changing. Teachers are given additions to their roster, and by that I mean immigrant students, with the assumption that they will jump right in and just get caught up. That is unreal. Immigrant students require additional support in order to be successful. But where is that support? As I continue, I will now be covering some of the effects that this problem has caused. Effect number 1, teachers are setting the bar low. Every child should be challenged, regardless of their limitations. Immigrant children experience bias and discrimination from their teachers. Educators view immigrant students as burdens. Effect number 2, students become isolated. Immigrant students are unintentionally excluded. What I mean by this is, when students are added to a teacher's roster unexpectedly, the teacher is not equipped to help them be successful. In that moment, the teacher has no idea what the student knows or does not know. Teachers will have the tendency to exclude them to avoid putting them on the spot. Immigrant students endure isolation from peer groups because of their culturally and linguistically vast differences. Effect number 3, low academic performance and school dropout. Through my research, I discovered the following statements. Research states that English language learners compared to mainstream American students will fail to reach success in state standardized assessments. This could indicate that schools are playing a minimal role in closing the achievement gap between them. Immigrant children are far less likely to complete high school in comparison to children of native-born parents. The statements I just mentioned are overwhelmingly true. We have now reached my favorite part of the presentation. How can we prevent or even fix this problem? Number 1, Development of effective assessment tools. Through the development of improved assessment tools, one will gain understanding of immigrant students' true knowledge. The current assessment tools we have measure immigrant students against normative groups, making it an unfair comparison. Number 2, funding for intervention across all subjects. Funding opens the door to proper intervention for immigrant children. Leaders in education have the power to reform co-teach models that are already in place or simply adjusting student pullouts to prevent segregation of the students. Number 3, continuous professional development, meaning simply asking for help. So you're not sure how to help them. Asking for help is a sign that you have their best interest at heart. Number 4 and number 5 go hand in hand together. Parent involvement is crucial to the success of immigrant students. Their participation could increase by offering English language classes to minimize the language barriers. Family educational involvement has been found to be positively associated with child achievement. Together, in partnership with the parents, we can achieve their success. In closing, why does it matter? Before we review our last slide, I would first like to talk to you about a student of mine. For the purpose of this presentation, we will call him Oliver. He was placed in my third period last year. Oliver walked up to me with a schedule in his hand in mid-April. I verified that he was in the correct place. When I attempted to communicate with him, he just stared at me. When I attempted a second time in Spanish, he told me that he had just moved here from Honduras. Oliver smiled when he realized that I could speak Spanish fluently. Needless to say, Oliver struggled to reach America. He is 12 years old and traveled on a caravan with his 13-year-old brother. As the year progressed, in conversation with Oliver, he would express to me that most of his teachers would have him sitting in the back of the classroom, or on the side, or isolated from peers. An English and Spanish dictionary was always provided to him to attempt his work, but with no real guidance. Unfortunately, nobody ever called on Oliver to answer any questions, most likely for fear that he would get them wrong. Oliver told me that his dream was to learn English so that he could one day be an architect here in the United States. As I continue through this slide, these children are in the classrooms of America. They're ours, and therefore they are our responsibility. Educators working in collaboration with members of the community will create endless opportunities to be able to break this cycle. If we do not break the cycle, immigrant children will never grasp this so-called American dream. Advocating for immigrant children is the key to their success. Oliver and every kid like Oliver deserve our best. They deserve a teacher that is willing to explore different methods until one of those methods works. They deserve to feel included and not excluded. They deserve to matter. They are worthy of graduating and pursuing careers here in the United States. As educators, it is our duty to advocate endlessly for all students. I ask that when you return to your classrooms or your campus or even your district offices, that you reflect on our time here together and that you visualize a better tomorrow for these children. Can you implement some of the proposed solutions that we talked about here today? Or perhaps you have better ideas of your own. Take action. Thank you so much.